Man, something just happened in NASCAR that honestly made me stop and think for a second. Hold on, have we been looking at this the wrong way the whole time? Because if you've been keeping up with the sport lately, you already know how loud things have been. The debates, the criticism, the constant questioning about whether certain drivers really deserve to be out there, it felt like every time this topic came up, it just kept getting worse. More doubt, more pushback, more fuel on the fire. But then, in one single moment, everything kind of slowed down. Not because of a win, not because of a wreck, but because of something much more subtle and honestly, way more revealing. And now, the entire garage, the fans, even the veterans, they're all looking at this situation just a little bit differently. I'm telling you, this might seem small at first glance, but it could end up being way more important than people realize. So stick with me here. And real quick, if you're a true NASCAR fan like me, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're building NASCAR Racing Breakdown from the ground up. Chasing that first 100 subscribers and having real fans along for the ride means everything. Alright, let's get into what actually went down. We're talking about Cleetus McFarland, the YouTuber who jumped head first into stock car racing and hasn't exactly had the easiest path so far. This all took place during a test session at Rockingham Speedway working with Richard Childress Racing, and this wasn't some light session either. We're talking close to 10 straight hours in the car. That's exhausting, physically and mentally, and that's usually when mistakes happen. Late in one of those long runs, with the tires completely worn out and grip basically gone, the car suddenly snapped loose mid-corner. That's the kind of moment where inexperienced drivers usually lose it. That's where spins happen. That's where cars hit the wall. That's where the criticism gets even louder. But this time, it didn't. He caught it. Quick hands, no panic, no overcorrection, just control. He saved the car, kept it off the wall, and drove away like nothing happened. Now yeah, if you look at it by itself, it's just a clean save, nothing crazy. But in this situation, it meant a lot more than that. Because we all know how this story started. Cleetus didn't quietly work his way into NASCAR. He was thrown straight into the spotlight. From YouTube to ARCA, then into the Truck Series, and the spotlight came with a ton of skepticism. We saw the early struggles, the testing crash, the Daytona incident in his truck debut, and that's when the veterans started speaking up. Drivers questioned his control, others criticized how quickly he was approved, some pointed directly at the lack of experience, and when names like that speak, people listen. So even after landing a limited schedule deal with Richard Childress Racing, the narrative didn't really change. The question stayed the same. Is he actually ready for this level? And that's exactly why this moment matters, because for the first time in a real pressure situation, he showed something you simply can't fake in NASCAR: car control when it actually counts. Not on fresh tires, not on a perfect lap, not in ideal conditions. This was worn tires, fatigue setting in, and a tricky track. That's where drivers get exposed, and this time he didn't. Now, did this suddenly silence everyone? Not even close. As soon as the clip hit online, the reaction split instantly. Some fans saw it as real progress, especially compared to his earlier mistakes. Others weren't buying it at all, saying one moment doesn't erase everything we've already seen. And honestly, inside the garage, the feeling seems pretty similar. It's not hype, it's not full acceptance, it's more like a pause. Like people are saying, all right, maybe there's something here, but we need to see more. And that leads to what comes next, where the real pressure starts. April 4th, Rockingham Speedway again, but this time it's not a test. It's his official NASCAR XVNS Series debut, and now everyone's watching. Because in this sport, potential gets attention, but consistency earns respect. So no, this moment didn't change everything overnight, but it definitely shifted something. It made people stop, look again, and maybe start reconsidering what this story could become. And as a fan, that's what makes this so interesting right now, because we might be watching the exact moment where the narrative begins to turn, or the moment where reality hits again. We're about to find out. So what do you think? Was that save enough to show real progress, or is it still way too early to believe in this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear where you stand. Personally, my take is pretty simple. This moment matters, but maybe not for the reason most people think. What Cleetus McFarland did at Rockingham doesn't suddenly prove he belongs at the top level. One save doesn't erase the crashes. It doesn't erase the inexperience. But at the same time, you can't ignore it either, because that kind of control in that situation after that many hours in the car, that's not just luck, that's instinct starting to form. That's a driver getting more comfortable at the edge, and that's what makes this worth paying attention to. I still think the criticism from veteran drivers is fair. NASCAR isn't a place where you figure things out as you go. The level is too high, the risks are too real. But this is the first time we've seen actual progress, not just hype, not just potential. For me, this shifts the conversation from "he doesn't belong here" to "all right, let's see if he can prove it." Because now the expectations change. Now it's not about the story, it's about the performance. If he shows up in the Xfinity race, keeps the car clean, runs solid laps, and stays out of trouble, people will start taking him seriously. But if he doesn't, then this moment becomes just another flash that didn't lead anywhere. So yeah, it didn't prove everything, but it proved just enough to make April 4th a lot more interesting. And if you're into real, honest NASCAR talk like this, no sugarcoating, just straight up racing discussion, make sure you like the video and subscribe to NASCAR Racing Breakdown. We're building this thing from the ground up, chasing that first 100 subscribers, and having real fans here means everything. All right, now all eyes on April 4th, because this is where it gets real. No more testing, no more what ifs, no more benefit of the doubt. This is where Cleetus McFarland has to show that what we saw wasn't just a one-time reaction, but the start of something real. And as fans, this is exactly why we watch, to see if a driver can rise under pressure, to see if the story changes, or if it stays exactly the same. We're about to find out.